My first time in meeting Prabhupada in India was in 1972 in Radha Damodar Temple in Vrindavan. He was preaching, he was giving lectures on nectar of devotion. And he was trying to convince the Indians, the Brijbasis, that we were devotees. It was very difficult. They didn't believe him, especially some of our God brothers weren't behaving so well. And so it was hard to convince them. But he was quoting from Nectar of Devotion. He was saying it's everyone's birthright to perform devotional service. Then later on, in one purport, he wrote, in Vrindavan, there is a place where there was no temple. But a devotee desired, let there be a temple and seva, devotional service. So what was once an empty corner has now become a place of pilgrimage. Such are the desires of a devotee. In Bombay, Radha Rasa Bihari came, and they were living in a tent, and the devotees, the men were in a hut, and the ladies were up on the roof of a building. And so the deities were in a tent. The night that I arrived, all their jewelry had been stolen overnight, the crowns and the Krishna's flute, because there was no doorway for where the deities were staying. And one devotee was asleep, guarding, and he was sleeping, so then the thieves came. So the deities were also doing austerities just like we were. And Prabhupada went to the deities, Radha Rasa Bihari. He said, my dear sir, please remain here and I shall build a beautiful temple for you. He promised them. And he did. You can go and see it. Juhu, it's all marble. It's a very opulent temple. Much more opulent than Vrindavan. So then he went to London, 1973, and there was a great struggle for the devotees in the beginning. But then, let's see, I don't know where that is. Oh yes, I opened to the page. Thank you, Krishna. So in 1969, the devotees in London, the married couples, met with the Beatles. And soon they recorded the Hare Krishna mantra, which was released by Apple Records. The record sold 70,000 copies on the first day. So then they were on the TV program, Top of the Pops, singing Hare Krishna. And, so in September 1969, Prabhupada went to London and he stayed with the devotees there at John Lennon's estate. And then George Harrison, he donated the Bhaktivedanta Manor. I'll show you that picture later. So, in 1973, then he installed the deities in Bhaktivedanta Manor. And there's a famous video of that. Vishaka was doing the video, and she said, I stood behind the arti tree and focused the entire time on Srila Prabhupada. And I was struck how gracefully he offered the different items and how focused he was on Sri Radha Gokulananda. I was certainly focused on him, and all the other devotees pretty much were focused on Prabhupada. Prabhupada was focused on the deities and pleasing them. The whole event was not about him, but it was about the pleasure of Shri Radha Gokulananda and the pleasure of the spiritual master. Looking at him, I could feel that. Then he started circumambulating the deities, and his movements were very graceful. And then gave a little movement of his hands, and everybody started jumping up and down. It's there in the video, you can see all of a sudden. He invited everyone to come into the deity room, circumambulate the deities, and all of a sudden he started dancing, and everyone was up in the air. So that was Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada introduced the deity worship, and he said, this means worshipping Krishna. He's very kindly accepted to be installed. Don't think we have installed a marble statue. The rascals will say they are heathens. No, we are worshipping Krishna personally. Krishna has kindly taken this form because we cannot see the gigantic universal form. So he said, remain 24 hours a day in Krishna's service. This is the purpose of installing the deities. So he introduced not only the Panchakshika marg, that is the deity worship, the Bhagavat marg, and that is the books, the kirtan, chanting and hearing. And he said, in one lecture, he said that to see the deities and to see the book, that is the same thing, and the people would get benefit. If they do this, they will advance in spiritual life. So in 50 years, 80 languages, his books have been translated. And he said about the book distribution in Chicago 1975, he was giving a lecture to the book distributors, and he said, Vishwamitra have performed heavy austerity for 60,000 years. You can get the same benefit of this austerity on a few days of Sankirtan. And then to the pujaris in Vrindavan, he said in Vrindavan, the highest service a human being can perform is to be a pujari. Because although the pujari has a material body, he serves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He wakes the Lord up, bathes, dresses, feeds him. These are activities of the spiritual world, but the pujari does them in this world. So there was a shortage of pujaris, so Prabhupada said there's nothing higher than being a pujari. So to the book distributors, he encouraged them to distribute books. To the pujaris, he encouraged them to do puja. So now I will also talk a little bit about this book. This is a book on the 50 years of ISKCON, and I did talk about it a little bit this morning. And here we have Srila Prabhupada coming down from one of his many airplanes. 14 times he went around, or 12 times around the world to spread this movement. Here he is in 1971, he went to Russia, and he met one Russian boy, and in 3 days, he was only 3 days in Russia, he told the whole philosophy to this one Russian boy, and from this one Russian boy, now we have thousands and thousands of Russian devotees. He only had one disciple who was of Russian descent, and how he learned was that one of my god-sisters, Mandakini, went and married him, and she taught him everything. And there was, anyway, somehow they allowed her to go and marry him. But then she got kicked out later on. But anyway, she did her best. And this is in France, in Paris, France, and where Prabhupada came. I told the story this morning how hundreds of devotees were there to meet Prabhupada at the airport. And on the same plane, the Indian ambassador, oh no, he was on a different plane, but he was also arriving around the same time. And a lady, the secretary to the mayor, was very frantic because they hadn't arranged any way to greet the ambassador from India. So she saw that all the devotees, she said, can you greet the ambassador, please? And so the devotees went there with garlands and they greeted the ambassador, and so she was so happy. And she said, can I do a favor for you? And they said, yes. Can you have the mayor greet Srila Prabhupada in City Hall? And so, yes, they arranged that. And I told that story this morning. When the mayor was supposed to come in, Prabhupada was sitting and he's supposed to stand up to greet the mayor. And they told him a few times, and Prabhupada said, I'm supposed to stand up for whom? And the mayor came in, and Prabhupada didn't stand up, and the mayor was standing there and waiting and waiting. And then finally he just said his speech anyway, and then Prabhupada stood up and said his speech. So anyway, that was Prabhupada, and that was Paris. And then here we have all these figures of all the achievements. So 9 to 10 million people worship at ISKCON temples every year, all over the world. 95,000 are initiated disciples. 3,600 Bhakti Vriksha groups, study groups, 110 restaurants. 3 billion meals have been served all over the world, vegetarian food. 1.2 million meals are served daily to children in India and in schools. 65 farms, 6,000 festivals, 212,900 patients in our Bhaktivedanta hospital in Bombay, and other eye clinics, medical clinics and hospices in India. "260,000 kilometers have been walked by the Padayatris." And this temple is in Salt Lake City, in Utah, which is a state in America which is home to all the Mormons. And one of their leaders, the leader of their church, in 1949 had a vision that this temple would be built. And he told, there was a prophecy by him to his followers that there will be a beautiful temple built here in Utah. He named the place, the city. And as a result, when our temple was being built, the Mormons supported it. They gave $25,000 to help build the temple, and they helped to build the temple too. They gave a lot of free service. And they do every year Holy Festival. 100,000 of those Mormons come for the Holy Festival. And so we have our temples all over the world. Here is Vrindavan, Prabhupada's Samadhi. And this one up here at the top is in Durban, South Africa. And Bhaktivedanta Manor, I think that was a small picture. You probably couldn't see it. It's here underneath the other temple. So just go and see it if you want to know what it looks like. And then there's the Harinam Sankirtan. Here's one of our leading Kirtaniyas, His Holiness Indudumna Swami in Tokyo, Japan. And different Sankirtan parties. This is Prabhupada in San Francisco, in the park, and they had brought Jagannath out there before Prabhupada came. Then he said, "You don't bring the deity out when you go for kirtan." That is not done, but they didn't know in the beginning. So here's Jagannath sitting out there next to Prabhupada. That was before they had any dresses for the deities too. So, here's the younger generation, the Gurukulis. On a bus tour in America, they go traveling and they have kirtan and different things. This year, the Gurukulis, they went to Mexico and they put on a play about Bhagavad Gita. And afterwards, the hotel owner insisted to buy 200 copies of Bhagavad Gita to put in each of his rooms in the hotel. And so the Gurukulis are, here is one of our prasad restaurants in Australia. Somebody enjoying prasad? And Stephen Jobs, it was Stephen Jobs, right? Founder of Apple Computers. He was a poor hippie. And he said, "I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday night to get one good meal a week at the Hare Krishna temple." So he was coming to the Sunday feast, Stephen Jobs. And later he did give some donations to ISKCON. A small donation for him, but big for us. And here we have in India, the children up here, and this is Nelson Mandela dancing at the ISKCON Food for Life, where there were hundreds of children there. And he said that this is an important building block for new democracies, the love and goodwill we show to each other. So he said that is the spirit of this festival that was organized by Food for Life. So, and then somebody added this morning that when he was riding home with a devotee, one devotee gave him a ride, or anyway, somehow he was talking with a devotee, and he said, "This is the happiest day of my life." The day that Nelson Mandela came to here he is dancing with the children, and all of them are dancing. So this is the influence. So many faces of ISKCON. These are some of the different people. Some of them are cooks. Some of them are artists. They're doing different things. And the difference between the beginning of ISKCON was that all of us lived in the temple, grihastas, brahmacharis, basically most of us. There were no vanaprasthas or hardly any sannyasis, so we were just grihastas and brahmacharis living together in the temple. You still live in pretty much in the temple. That in the early days we did like that, and we gave everything. But now everybody has moved outside, so that's the big difference now. And you will see all over the world there are families, congregational members, which we didn't have before. So that's very important. And here there's kirtan. And now in America, I don't know about here, I think here also in the yoga groups, they really want to chant kirtan and they invite us. So Vyasaki's coming, and I guess that can be an opportunity for the yoga groups to get the association. One of my god sisters is, her name is Kodi Shamani. She is an Iyengar yoga teacher for over 25 years. And she says that, here is what she says, my guru Srila Prabhupada first introduced kirtan in America as early as 1965. People all over the country took to it. And now, 50 years later, those who practice yoga, asana, pranayama, have added another level, kirtan. Seekers have embraced the ancient practice of asana and pranayama to bring a natural balance to the body and mind. However, the study of yoga is not complete with just the physical practice. The age-old yogic texts advise we should understand the meaning of our life as well. They talk about pratyahara and dharana and dhyana to experience who we really are and to realize something greater than ourselves. So I was born in a family, I was the oldest of 8 children, but none of my brothers and sisters have actually come to Krishna consciousness, but I just recently got a letter on Facebook, and from this said, "This is your sister, Catherine. I'm studying to become a yoga teacher." And I remember 46 years ago when you gave me a Bhagavad Gita. Now I have to read Bhagavad Gita to become a yoga teacher. And she said, and I remember when you were doing yoga as a teenager, you were practicing all the yoga asanas. She said, I was too frightened to do it then, but now I want to find out who I really am and find out the truth. So, yes, so it's happening. Even one of my own sisters is going to try to become, and that means kirtan also, because now kirtan is part of yoga. Everywhere they do kirtan. Shri Prahlad, he's one of our kirtaniyas, and he was, when Russia was under Soviet Union and people were not allowed to practice religion, then Shri Prahlad, he made a famous record, a tape with he was a child then, and all the children in Australia let our people go, you know, and they chanted Hare Krishna mantra. It was to Gorbachev. They were pleading because many of our devotees were in prison and mental institutions in Russia. They were not allowed to practice Krishna consciousness. So now he's one of our kirtaniyas, and he said he attended his first kirtan at 4 years of age, so parents must have joined when he was a child. And now he's a great kirtaniya. So 50 years later, now finally the temple is coming. Prabhupada wanted this temple of the TOVP, of the Vedic Planetarium. And they're going to have inside the biggest chandelier in the world, revolving chandelier, is going to be 60 meters high and 30 meters in diameter. And it's going to show the structure of the universe and all the planets and all the different planetary systems, Swarga, and all of them. And it will have a timepiece showing the movements of the heavenly bodies and higher realms of the cosmic manifestation. So this is the TOVP. It's much more. This is an older picture. It's gone much more than this by now. But you can see it's coming up. And you've seen our farms. Festivals, Kijat. So here is Ukraine. I think this was probably when they had 11,000 people, devotees, attend the festival. Can you imagine? So this is a country that's at war now. So they had to tone down the festival. Here's one policeman in New York City at the Rath Yatra, and also enjoying kirtan. And this is Bhaktivedanta Institute, the scientists. And here's a quote. Modern science provides evidence that numbers and ratios appear to be finely tuned to enable life to exist in our universe. But Michael A. Cremo argues it oversteps its boundaries when it claims to answer questions about the origins of life. So forbidden archaeology by Yutakarma and what's the Sarvabhuta. They say that they found skeletons 50 million years old, but they put this evidence aside because it doesn't fit the theory of evolution. So I think you've written a book also about that, Darwinian theory. The cell is now understood to be an elaborate system of molecular machinery that surpasses a modern city in complexity. Well, we have a picture of a cell, I guess. That's what it's supposed to be. I don't know if they can show that. But now they have this theory, what is intelligent design, which is based on this, what he said many years ago, with this, our devotee scientist. So, now last there was drama. Here is Draupadi and Krishna is giving her unlimited sari. This is the Bhaktivedanta players in UK. They're very famous and they're doing dramas all over. The deities here, all over the world. And, Lord Gauranga from Mayapur. Don't want to miss him. So interfaith, now we're also, ISKCON is doing a lot of interfaith, and I know in Washington, D.C., they have for the last 20 years, they have an annual 2-day Vaishnava Christian retreat together with Christians, the head of the church. They also have an annual Vaishnava and Muslim dialogue in Washington, D.C. And I know one of my friends, she sings kirtan, and she had a kirtan with the Jewish ladies, a whole bunch of Jewish ladies group. And they were all chanting Hare Krishna. So they're doing a lot of outreach to different faiths in the Washington, D.C. area. This is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. When we have the occasion to be present at the place of worship of other religionists at the time of their worship, we should stay there in a respectful mood, thinking like this: here is being worshipped my adorable highest entity, God, in a different form than that of mine. I bow down with prostration before his emblem, as I see here, and I offer up my prayer to my Lord, who has adopted this different emblem, that he may increase my love toward him. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had this interfaith attitude already. So this is going on, how they're working together in different parts of the world. I remember there was a World Parliament of Religions, and Indradumna Maharaj went there. And they did a presentation, and he was speaking, and then and he also went, there were different religions giving, and Maharaj went to one Arab Muslim's presentation, and they became friends. And then the Muslim person leader came to Maharaj's, and he said, "Oh yes, this is very good. I will use it in my lecture about the soul." And so they made friends there on a very high level. And finally, Prabhupada's books. And here's the Sunday feast. Famous picture of a devotee with a thali of wonderful prasadam, and that started love feast. Actually, that's what brought me to Krishna consciousness. The first thing I saw an ad in the paper saying love feast, and I thought, oh, what is that? Let me go and see. And that was the first day I went to the temple. And And I asked the devotees, because I was searching for Guru, and they said, I said, what is your process? They said, you chant, you dance, and you eat. I said, okay, I'll try that. And what can I expect if I follow this process? And they said, you can see God face to face. I said, yes, I want to see. Because the last Guru I went to, he said, you'll become God. But it didn't happen. So I said, well, let me try to see. I'm not God, so if I see God, that would be really good. It would be really wonderful. And we thought it was gonna happen in a few years. Now I'm still trying after 46 years. But yes, we see the deity and we see God. And we see Him all around us in many ways. So, are there any questions? We'll stop here. Any questions? Yes?
I was just thinking if you could tell that to everyone, this how you lived there in the temple with all these families and with these small facilities. It's just so beautiful.
Well, I can start with Bombay. No, where was I? No, Boston. Boston, there was many, many grihastas and brahmacharis and brahmacharinis living in the same temple. And we had a room, but then they put us in a closet because they gave our room to somebody who had a child. And they thought, the child, because in our room we were just in a closet, so there was no windows. But then they cut a window in the roof. There was a hole in our ceiling, and it was snowing on us in the winter. Kind of like these windows, only it was just a crude hole in the ceiling. And that was our window. That was our first accommodation in ISKCON. And the second one was in Bombay, where the ladies were on the roof of the building in summer, the men were in a hut. And then we got better after this Mr. Sethi built rooms on the back of the tenants' flats. So then we had a room, but it was 4 grihastas together. There were 4 rooms. There was like one flat with 4 rooms, 1 bathroom, 1 shower. And one family had 4 children, one family had 3 children. I had 1 baby. We were all sharing the same bathroom. But on this was not so bad. On the other side, there were 4 rooms. One family had 6 children, one family had 5 children, and one family had 3, and we all had to share the same bathroom. And so it was, and we didn't have beds. We were on the floor on these mats. We didn't have. I didn't have a bed for the first 18 years I was in India. But yeah, there were austere conditions. But it was like an adventure for us because no matter how austere we were, Prabhupada was more austere. He slept less than we did, he walked faster than we did, he wrote more books. We couldn't keep up with him, actually. He was so amazing. Any other questions? Yes?
I would like to know, how did your parents react to your joining the ISKCON?
Okay. Well, I came in a very religious family, I would say that. My mother was Protestant and my father was Catholic. But we were brought up as Protestants. So since I was the oldest of 8 children, it was, if you lose one, you still got 7 left. But my mother was accepting. They accepted it. They came to visit me in the temple. But the problem was that I left home when I joined. I left home before that. I got married 2 years before, and then I went to India for 10 years. I didn't write a letter or anything, and phones weren't working in India, in Calcutta. I was in Calcutta. The phone, even for a local call, you'd have to try 10